Good evening and welcome to our business news, where we'll be taking a look at the iconic Trident Park building in Mriehel, a building that's been nominated for many prestigious awards. I'll be speaking with Mr. Louis Farrugia. Thank you, Mr. Farrugia, for welcoming us to this beautiful building. I'm speechless.
It's a pleasure.
Whose idea was it?
Well, I think to explain this building, I have to go back quite a few years, probably something like 35 to 40 years. Because in the this building was originally built in the late 40s, early 50s, opened in 1950. So when I came along in the 80s, it was already 30 years old. So one of the things we did straight away is come up with a master plan of what we would do to have a state-of-the-art brewery. And this took up most of the 80s. Mm-hmm. Towards the end of the 80s, we started actually investing. And this consisted basically of transferring the brewery operations to the south. So it started off with a processing block, then into a soft drinks PET factory, a logistics center, a packaging hall, a brew house, something like 150 million worth of investments from 1990 to 2015. In fact, the packaging hall was opened in 2015. The new brew house, which took over from the old brew house, was opened in 2012. So in 2015, we had a nearly empty old brewery building. And we said to ourselves, what are we going to do? And obviously Malta's economy was developing at that time. It still is, but was developing, diversifying, I would say. Mriehel, although originally an industrial area, was starting to become commercial offices, in other words, financial institutions. So we thought it would be an opportunity to have a business park. And we employed UK consultants, and we ended up with a well-known British architect called Ian Ritchie. And obviously one of our desires was that the old building should not be knocked down. The facade, in any case, it was scheduled, but even if it wasn't, we would never have allowed the frontage to be knocked down. But what we did was come up with a plan having 7 blocks and 6 gardens, because we realized that the environment was going to become very important in terms of the issues for the island. And sure enough, we started the project in 2018, and it took us 5 years to finish. Investment was done by 2 PLCs. One is Farsons and one is Trident Park, Trident Estates. And what we did was we created a new PLC company by launching giving those shares away to the same shareholders. So the shareholders of Farsons today have two types of shares, one Farsons and one in Trident Park. And we arranged the funding, and this is the result.
Amazing. Amazing. It was really worth your while. I mean, and it seems to be that it was your idea initially.
Well, these ideas develop.
Yes, absolutely.
They develop. I mean, in 2012, the economy wasn't the same as it was in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew the general direction. I mean, Mriehel wasn't very well kept. And one of the things that we did was encourage government to come up with a joint private-public partnership to be able to reinvest in the area. In other words, tarmac the roads, change the lighting system, look after the waste control. And this happened. So whilst we were building this building, the rest of Mriehel was being invested in. In fact, if you cross the road, you will see a little park. We paid for that. And that is a contribution to the Birkirkara town. In other words, today they can go and relax in this space. Before it was a run-down area.
And that's amazing to do that for people who are working for you, for the company.
Yes, it was done in cooperation, obviously, with the planning authority.
Yes.
But it's been a success. In fact, everyone will tell you that Mriehel has changed. In fact, the name is now Central Business District. And it's attracting a new type of tenant, and the old type of tenant is moving to less costly areas, and obviously making money at the same time because they're selling their premises at a higher price.
So as a business location, I can say it's become a prime location for businesses.
I think so. I mean, Farsons, my career was never in property, but if you look at any property development area, that's what happens. You get one major investment, and then the area gets a new life.
One thing that strikes me in what I've seen so far is the light, and I think it lifts people's spirits really, and employees are looking also for a better quality of life while they're in the office, while they're working.
When we were planning it, that was one of our prime motivations. Let's take the car park, for instance. It's an above-ground car park. It's not an underground. We could have gone underground and used that space for offices, but we wanted everything to be convenient. The car park is very spacious. There's no odor or smell of diesel because of the spaces there are. It's very convenient, and you can park your car on the floor that you're working on. So each floor has an entrance to the car park. And it's proving to be very, very popular, both with tenants and people who come and visit our amenities, because part of the business plan was amenities. In other words, not just an office, but what do people want? And they want a place where they can have a coffee, they want a place where they can have a snack, they want a place where they can have a meal. So there's a Chisk Tap bar, there's an event space. We took the opportunity to have a museum, an experience of Farsons, which is also attracting tourists. And so the car park is kept busy at the weekend. So this is all thought through, obviously.
After COVID, it was very important for people to have a better quality of life.
Yeah.
I would say, projects like this
Yes.
improve people's quality
The
of
office
life.
market has changed, and you're right in saying that there are tenants who are have moved from other spaces and have taken up less space than they had before, because part of their regime is to work at home. So there's a change. But I'm glad to say that it's been a success, and our occupancy is close to 80%. They feel very satisfied. There's a high level of job satisfaction.
You mentioned the environment. What are the values of the company when it comes to the environment, and how did you plan to be ESG compliant when you were planning out this building?
Well, besides the cooling system, which is very ESG, because it's a unique system, we also have solar paneling on all the roofs. We have a waste system which is workable and efficient. We're looking at the consumption of water. We have our own reservoirs here to water the plants. The number, obviously, we've only been operating for just under a year. But when the figures do come out, we will be generating quite a big proportion of our own electricity.
I mean, the building is massive. Do you have a personal favorite area or a favorite room?
I think we're sitting in it.
Yes.
Because this is the room that, as I explained, my father was the original architect along with a Scotsman. And I remember as a very young boy visiting his desk in the corner. It's just nostalgic reasons, but also, as you can see, the style is special. My father was unfortunately passed away when he was young, but he was influenced obviously by the architectural movement before the war. It was Art Deco, and this building was commissioned, started being built in '47, just after the war. So you can imagine the style then was what it was. The British architect was a chap called Binney, who was also the architect of the finisher. There are many buildings in London which are similar to this in style on the North Circular Road. And I think it has an infinite life. You know, it works today as it did in the 50s.
Timeless.
Timeless is the word, yeah. So I love it. I love the architecture.
How do you feel when you walk in through the door in the morning?
Well, I don't walk through this door. I used to walk through this door for 40 odd years. Now I go into the car park and go into my other office. But no, I think of my father, I think he would be pleased with what we've done. We've preserved his heritage.
And what's the reaction been so far?
Well, if you look at the press, it's been very positive. There was a number of editorials, but also there's been a book which was published by Ian Ritchie, the architect. There's been a seminar or a discussion held here with architects like Richard England and well-known other Maltese architects having a discussion. So when I do meet architects, they tell me what you've told me. It's a breath of fresh air.
It is. Going forward, do you have any plans for more developments here?
Well, I may have plans, but the company has probably working on plans which they can actually implement. Because I don't think I'm going to be working on any other projects. But yes, the company has in mind to continue in the area of property development and continue with the winning formula, which is looking at what consumer wants and going for that. Because that's what we've done, really. I mean, we were lucky enough to have the space, but we were also wise enough to take advantage of it. What would have happened if we knocked the building down, if we were allowed to knock the building down? We would have had no advantage over anyone else. But the fact that it is different gives us that unique, special place.
I like the idea that in a location that wasn't seen as a prime location, you've actually lifted this whole area, and it affects the community around. It affects people who live here locally in a positive way.
I think so. I think our neighbours, for instance, I mean, for 5 years they had to suffer cranes and noise and whatever, but we did it with them. We always were in touch with them, and whenever they had issues, we had tried to tackle. It was tough to try and keep those standards.
But it's giving people in the area a better quality of life. The fact that there are restaurants, outlets that they can visit locally also.
Yes, in fact, they're proving very popular, and this has been a summer, and I believe they'll be just as popular in winter, if not more.
Although you're a listed company, I still get the feel of a family business. You talk about your father a lot. I've met your son. We're meeting him during this program. How do you find the balance to keep those strong family values and yet have a listed company?
Well, the public shareholding goes back to 1929. So the practice of being accountable goes back all those years. So it was ingrained in the culture of the company. When I joined, we were already reporting and having shareholders meetings and whatever. Obviously now the rules have changed. They're much more stringent, onerous. On ESG we have a committee. We're taking it seriously. And there are a number of initiatives which we are doing to help contribute to the environment. And obviously we have a Farsons Foundation on the social issues, which I chair. Farsons Foundation started in 1995, and it was basically, the principle was, let's create a special board connoisseurs, people who are wise, perhaps retired individuals who have connections with Farsons, who will be able to adjudicate requests we have for help, and rather than leave it to the CEO who has to get on with running the company. And I think it's worked, because since 1995 we've given hundreds of thousands, if not millions away. We're trying to develop it further, but there's no doubt about it. I don't think I have to say so, that Farsons has been a major contributor to the community over the years, and is proud to be so.
What sort of causes are close to your heart?
Well, we had a special contribution last year to hospice, which we feel proud about. We're helping them in their new premises. Caritas is also a charity which we help. And then we have a lot of smaller individuals with, people who require help in publishing a book, or scholars who have studied a particular subject, actual, environmental groups. We try and split it up.
Going forward, what are your plans for more innovation? You've always focused on innovation.
One step at a time, always. And we have to think of different publics. We have to think of shareholders. We have to think of the consumers. We have to think of governmental. But there's no doubt about it that Farsons has a lot of talent, or people, management, who have a lot of talent. And we can diversify in a number of areas. We're not trying to change the world in a hurry, but we're now going to be, in 2028, we'll be celebrating 100 years. And I think that would be a good occasion to renew the vision.
What about technology? How important was it when you were setting up this building?
If you had time to visit the operation, you will see state-of-the-art equipment here. You will also see a robot which is stacking our kegs. They're being lifted by robots rather than individuals. So it's reducing the weight problem, at the same time increasing efficiency. So we're working with robots already. That technology has taken over. It's taken over not just the operation, but the way management thinks. Digital age is very much with us. AI, sometimes it's beyond me.
How did the board make the decision to go against the grain and invest so heavily in this building?
Because we went to the consumer. Who were we selling to? What do they want? What were they unhappy with the current offices? The car parking facilities, or you hear it many times that going into an underground car park, you can scratch your car very easily. The environment. So we went for the issues that we knew that would hit a chord. I learned that from the beverage business. We always tried to launch products that were in demand. And we try to be ahead of the curve. That's another one, trying to be ahead of the curve.
What advice would you give other companies who want to move towards a better working space? How important is it to provide your staff with a better working space?
Yeah, I think these things happen on their own. Investors would have taken note of what's happened here. They would have taken note that it's been a success, and they will try and replicate this wherever they can. And I think that's the contribution we've made to the Malta's economy, is that we've given a formula which is different. Even if there is a lack of space, the solution isn't always up. You can have other solutions. So I think that's the contribution we've made. I don't think we need to give advice. The advice happened. This is a success. The success speaks for itself.
One last question. How do you feel about remote working, which has become very popular globally?
Personally, I'm obviously try and practice it, especially because of my age now. But I think there's nothing that substitutes face-to-face meetings. I think face-to-face meetings are more effective. Mm-hmm. But I understand if you're in software development or financial services, you don't necessarily need to have face-to-face meetings, and you can be more productive. But I imagine if you got a lot of distractions at home as well. So I think the jury's still out.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farrugia.
Piacere, thank you.
Thank you very much for watching our business news today. Our broadcast was held at the prestigious Trident Park building in Mriehel, a building that has been nominated for many prestigious awards. I was speaking with Mr. Louis Farrugia. Should you have any comments or queries, please send them to the number that appears on the screen. I'm Hogg for Net TV.